All right, where do the Chiefs go from here? Is this the end of the dynasty as more teams in the AFC are catching up? Or is this simply chapter 2.0 from Mahomes and company? I want to talk about it, but first, how about those? Hey, if you're watching this and love the Chiefs as much as I do, hit the subscribe button and turn notifications on so that you can stay in the know with daily news about our favorite team. All right, guys, where in the world do we go from here? The AFC Championship game was all but ours. I was there at the game. The first half was electrifying until we failed to score at the goal line before halftime. I mean, you could literally feel the momentum get sucked out of the air, the electricity gone. Then the second half, well, you know the story. It's hard to watch the Chiefs blow the second half like they did against the Bengals, and they actually did it twice in a month. The Chiefs were up 28-17 at halftime during their first meeting in week 17. Then they only scored 3 points in the second half and lost by 3. Does that sound a bit familiar to y'all? AFC Championship game, we were up 21-10 at halftime, then only scored 3 points in the second half. We did go into overtime, but we still lost the game by 3 points. I'm not a big numbers guy, but both games, we were up by 11 at halftime and only scored 3 in the second half. So who is to really blame for that? Andy Reid and the offense's seemingly inability to adapt to the Bengals' defensive changes? Or our defense for getting little to no pressure on Burrow in spite of a pretty bad offensive line? Burrow was only sacked 1 time in the AFC Championship game. Chris Jones and Frank Clark have the 2 most expensive contracts on the defense, and they did not get credited with a QB hit. I mean, that is unacceptable, guys. So where do we go from here? Let's talk wide receiver. We need a number 2, no question about it. I've done a video or 2 on that. It is not a secret. I actually have a video that already dropped this morning on Juju Smith-Schuster being a possibility of a wide receiver 2 for us next year. If you want to check it out, go for it. But if the Chiefs are aggressive with the salary cap, we should be able to get around $50 to $60 million under. Won't be easy, tough decisions would need to be made, but we could do it. That would create room for another dangerous wide receiver in free agency. There's some people on there that are intriguing. Chris Godwin, Devontae Adams, Will Fuller, Sammy Watkins, Mike Williams, Juju Smith-Schuster, among others. Some probably aren't a good fit. Others definitely too expensive. But hey, it's worth looking at. We also need to more than likely look at the draft as well. There's Garrett Wilson from Ohio State, Drake London from SoCal, Jamison Williams from Alabama, Chris Olave from Ohio State. Now, I'm not honestly sure of their estimated draft rounds and all that, but we definitely need to look at the draft and look at somebody there as well. The Chiefs have 8 picks, 5 in the first 4 rounds, so we need to address wide receiver 2 or 3 in the draft. Byron Pringle is a free agent that I hope we are able to bring back. He had a solid enough year last year that he could possibly get offered more money by another team, but hopefully that doesn't happen and we are able to bring him back for a fair amount of money. Pringle is 28, 29 in November, so he's still a good age for a contract extension of some sort, but he's also not getting any younger. Let's talk running backs for a moment. I did a much more in-depth video on that a bit ago that you can watch, but I think Darrell Williams outplayed himself this year, meaning he may very well get snatched up by another team that offers him more money. If that happens, we cannot let McKinnon walk, okay? I want to talk offensive line and defense, but first, if you're enjoying this video, can you do me a favor and hit that like button so more Chiefs fans can find this content? All right, offensive line. We will either franchise tag or sign Orlando Brown Jr. to a long-term deal. He is our guy for sure on the left side, it appears. The interior is looking great, but right tackle is certainly in question. Will Niang be healthy and productive next year? Do we bring back Wiley? Maybe address it in the draft? I think Veach would want to go after and address the D-line first, as he said several times in his presser stuff about the D-line. And speaking of D-line, Frank Clark is probably gone unless he takes a pay cut severe enough that he basically just plays for the money we would lose if we cut him, which is like around $8 million or something. Jaron Reed is probably gone. Hopefully we can get Melvin Ingram back. Maybe we could look at Von Miller. He looked great in the Super Bowl, but we can't just look at older vets. That's not going to be the only answer for the long term. Ultimately, we need to snag somebody or some bodies in the draft. Arrowhead Pride did an article on the top 10 edge rushers they see in the draft. I will link it down in the description if you didn't see it already and want to read the full list. But some people on the list are, I'm going to butcher this name so bad, Kayvon, there's his last name, Aiden Hutchinson, George Karlaftis, Trayvon Walker, among others. I would think we honestly try our best to bring Tyrann Mathieu back looking at the secondary, considering we have enough already to worry about on the defensive side of things with the line. To me, Tyrann is a question mark still at this point in time, but man, I would love to see him back for a couple years if we can make it happen. He's such a leader, and even though he had a declining year, you could see when he was off the field, I mean, our secondary was lost. Let's talk cornerbacks. L'Jarius Sneed is a baller, but we need more than just him. Ward is a free agent and will more than likely test the market. He may even get a decent offer from another team, as he did have a pretty good year, but hopefully we're able to bring him back. I do think he's a solid cornerback, but we still need to address this even if Ward returns. On the coaching side of things, I've covered a couple videos on coaching moves, and there are a lot. The biggest questions right now that I can think of off the top is our offensive coordinator. Is Eric Berry staying? Is he going? There's a lot of wild stuff going on right now around the internet about EB. I will say this, if they bring him back for another year, I would say things are not as bad as people are making it seem behind closed doors, and they obviously think they can work through things and move forward. We also recently lost our defensive backs, cornerbacks coach Sam Madison. He went to the Dolphins, and we still need to fill our spot for QB coach Mike Kafka, who is now offensive coordinator for the New York Giants, recently left to do that. Okay, so with all that being said, what are your thoughts on all of this? There's a lot I mentioned, but definitely let me know your thoughts on maybe the 3 greatest things you think the Chiefs need to address this offseason. I'd love to read what you have to say, even if I do not respond to all the comments. There's a lot, and it's hard to keep up. But here are my final thoughts. While Mahomes is still in his prime years, we need another wide receiver threat for him. No ifs, ands, or buts. And after that, we basically need to upgrade this defense as much as humanly possible. We need our defense to be as great as it possibly can be to give the offense the ability to not need to score 30-plus points to win a game. I know our defense played well in the second half of the season, but the D-line especially fell short when it mattered the most. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe for more content like this. I post news about the Chiefs almost every single day, and we'll be doing news like this all year long. So until next time, let's go. How about those